Hi everyone, I'm Jane Hanscom and I'm a media studies major and an English minor, and I'll be graduating in December. And today I will present my senior project on justifying women villains in contemporary media. Have you ever been entertained by these characters? Or have you ever encountered a female villain that you felt sorry for? Or have you ever loved to hate one of these women? It is important to dissect these emotions attached to supposedly evil characters. No matter if your emotions towards a female villain are positive or negative, they made you feel something, and that should be celebrated. By propagating women's nature as nonviolent, they are discouraging women from becoming fighters in their struggle for their liberation and that of society. Gandhi was a writer and revolutionary leader of the Communist Party of India. Her quote is necessary for framing my argument today, because most people don't want to be evil. There is something that compels them to be. Their motives are typically influenced by something traumatic, which leaves them freedomless until they take back the power for their own needs and desires. Why study women villains? Well, I study these women because I admire them and I look up to their strong will and their perseverance through the most tragic things imaginable. But also, they're entertaining. It's entertaining to see a woman break away from their original role and into something else, sometimes a truer version of themselves. Secondly, in a world so consumed with the status quo and the dominant culture, it is crucial that we celebrate those outside it. And lastly, we need unique perspectives. It is important to understand and share the female experience because it can complicate our outlook on women. The following characters all have complex, difficult, and tragic origin stories that result in their newfound identity. Their lives before and at the beginning of their respective television show or film were not particularly happy or fair to them, resulting in a context that allows the women to make unjust decisions, therefore becoming villains. The protagonists of Westworld, Carrie and Black Swan, are worthy representations of feminism because of their self made transformation from subservient women to empowered villains. This topic is important because it defines the ideology of feminism as achievable for all women by many different methods. The project is significant because it discusses a world that reflects the future of our culture, political, ethics, inequality, and spectacle. Black Swan and Carrie are relevant cases as well because of their use of female characters. These films also discuss power and how it is given from powerful groups and given to marginalized ones. My first character is Carrie, who begins her film as a sheltered, shy, and bullied girl. Her mother believes in religious purity and abuses Carrie with this belief. But as someone asks her to prom, she becomes happy, especially as she is crowned prom queen. But all of that ends with an elaborate prank with pig's blood, and Carrie uses her powers to destroy the school and everyone in it. Nina also, Nina of Black Swan, also has an overbearing mother who is trying to live through her. Carrie is a figure of feminism because she gains strength and confidence even though it is through evil. Nina is a ballerina that dreams of the Swan Lake role, but she is selected partly because of the director's infatuation with her. Competing against herself and others, Nina spirals into a madness but succeeds in her goal of becoming the Black Swan. Dolores is a robot built for a park to appease the rich. But as she gains consciousness, Dolores seeks revenge on her makers, into her true self. But most importantly, she is forced into consciousness through sexual and violent trauma, which leads her to think about the way things are and how they came to be. Thus, she turns to revenge and the decimation of the humans that imprisoned her and traumatized her. Despite not having the best and most ethical method, her case provides evidence of empowerment through her well fought fight for freedom and self discovery. For this project, I used the feminist lens, specifically Mulvey's research on the male gaze. It inspired my research because of the changing narrative in film and television. The trauma that Carrie, Nina, and Dolores experience in their lives shape the way they act and how they see the world. They are forced to be concerned with survival, and that is translated through revenge. Since they have never had it, all they want is freedom and power, and they only see one way to get it. Several aspects of all three leading women previously described show us the before image and perception of each woman. Each of these women has had trauma in their lives that they have had to overcome, and those traumas have been directly correlated to some aspect of power dynamics. All these characters develop in an obsessive way to reach an individual image, and they strive to be noticed as their own person. They present themselves as shy and naive in their early stages, and their heartache and suffering are not only physical but also mental, in that they are young women trapped mentally in a role that they do not choose to be in. Each of these women are searching for acceptance and can receive that through becoming liberated from their trauma. The womanhood of these women has been used to manipulate them their whole lives. Always being defined as either sexual or non sexual beings, their personhood was taken from them. They had no power because it was taken from them. The only way for them to escape from those who control them is that they must make a drastic change. As a damsel in distress, Dolores was born to serve people at the park. She is used, especially by men, for whatever they desire. Carrie's telekinetic powers are powers of the mind, and the storyline goes hand in hand with the fact that Carrie has been afraid and silent about her abuse. For Nina, everyone Nina comes in contact with um, becomes an obsession for her of competition in her mind, including her interactions with Thomas, the director of the Black Swan. Before the events of their respective films and television shows, Dolores, Nina, and Carrie are traumatized by those who oppress them and take advantage of them. And more than once is this shown through male dominance and power dynamics in their lives. Dolores is controlled by the desires of others, usually men, and Nina is influenced by her ballet director and looks up to him too much because he has power over her and her life. Nina is used by him and her mother, and she becomes insane throughout the movie because of them. Carrie is the youngest and most impressionable. She is an object of her mother's insanity in relation to religion. She must break away from her mother to become her own person, and she is taken advantage by her peers at school. These women start their stories as fearful women that listen to someone else more than themselves, but as they first realize the bonds that hold them back, they are thrusted into a new, darker, less morally good persona because they have been suppressed for so long. By rejecting the male gaze, these characters change the perspective of the audience to rejoice for them, rather than see them as one dimensional villains. Dolores has no consciousness at first, but she begins to feel the injustice and notices the worst of society, and then she gains consciousness, personality, and power. She had been an android for at least 100 years, so her whole life was spent having no freedom or choice. When she found the clues of the maze that her creator left for her to gain consciousness, she began to unravel a dormant part of herself. As she releases this hidden but true self, it causes the destruction of those around her as she wishes for revenge on all of those who are part of the system that has oppressed her. The world has also been so cruel to Carrie that she now feels the pain and it is amplified into violence and horror. Up to this point in her life, Carrie has only felt abuse, violence, and shame. She has felt all of those in silence while trying to understand so that she can be accepted. Now her silence is being expressed through her powers and displayed in front of everyone at her school. Nina starts to become the Black Swan mentally and physically as rehearsals continue. The darkness that's been suppressed within her starts to come out, and from that she can let go of the previous obsessions by replacing them with new obsessions of eliminating her competition, being seductive and sexual with the men around her, and living up to the Black Swan identity. Nina finds her freedom by becoming the Black Swan. All of these people have suppressed and tried to control Nina, such as her mother and the director, but now they will see the woman that she can be. Nina wants to be the white swan and the black swan, and she believes to be perfect, she has to embrace both sides, purity and darkness. These characters are taught only violence, but when they discover themselves are happy, it is taken, and when it was taken away from them, they are placed back into their abused past. Carrie, Nina, and Dolores are a celebration of female empowerment. From birth, they were placed into oppressive worlds, so to oppose these conditions is a radical act. When a man is violent, it is in his nature. I argue that when a woman is violent, she is rejecting her given role and creating her own narrative. I argue that this celebration of women, and especially villains, is important to the greater context of the current socio political climate in America, with the right for women's and LGBTQIA plus rights. These rights are fundamental to the conversation of on screen female characters because they reflect reality and how women are perceived in real life. Women are treated poorly for speaking up for themselves, and that is what I perceive Dolores, Nina, and Carrie doing. They are taking back their power and standing up for themselves as they never have before. In defending themselves, they are inspiring other women because they give us hope. Hope that women can be free to be who they want to be, even if that is perceivably evil. I would like to thank my family for their love and support, and of course thank Professor Contois for her guidance and encouragement throughout the semester. Thank you. Any questions?